War Admiral Vexthal stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Death's Edge. Through the massive viewing window, he could see his fleet spread across space like a dark ocean of metal and death. 200 ships, each one larger than most space stations, each one carrying enough firepower to destroy a planet. His scaled fingers traced the edge of his command chair as he studied the tactical display. The humans were close now, very close. According to their scouts, the primitive species had only discovered space travel a few hundred years ago. They were nothing compared to the mighty Kethran Empire. War Admiral, his communications officer hissed through sharp teeth. We are approaching the edge of human space. Shall we proceed with the invasion? Vexthal nodded slowly. Begin the attack. Show these humans what happens when they refuse to bow to the Empire. The fleet moved forward like a wall of destruction. Each ship hummed with energy weapons and missile systems. The Kethran had used this same fleet to conquer dozens of worlds. No species had ever survived their first attack. Far ahead of the alien armada, Captain Hyun Dae-jin sat quietly in his chair aboard the human warship UHS Indomitable. The ship was not large compared to the alien vessels. It was sleek and white, built for speed and efficiency rather than intimidation. Hyun was a calm man with steady eyes and graying hair. He had served in the Human Defense Force for 20 years. In all that time, he had never seen anything like what his sensors were showing him now. "Captain," called out his tactical officer, Tai Sung-min, "you need to see this." Tae was young and brilliant, one of the best military minds in the fleet. His voice carried a note of disbelief that made Hyun turn in his chair. "What is it, Tae?" "Sir, our long-range sensors are picking up something impossible. It looks like a fleet of 200 ships, each one the size of a small moon. They're heading straight for us." Chief Engineer Yu Hua-young looked up from her station. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and oil-stained hands. "That can't be right. No one builds ships that big. The power requirements alone would be impossible." Communications specialist Mi Young-seo turned from her console. She was the youngest member of the crew, but her skills with alien languages were legendary.
"Captain, I'm picking up transmissions from the fleet."
"They're definitely not human." Hyun stood and walked to the main viewing screen. Space looked normal, filled with distant stars and the soft glow of nearby planets. But he trusted his crew completely. "Put the sensor data on screen," he ordered. The display changed, showing a tactical view of space around them. What Hyun saw made him pause. The approaching fleet was massive beyond imagination. Each ship glowed with energy signatures that suggested incredible destructive power. "How long until they reach us?" Hyun asked. "At their current speed, about 30 minutes, Tae replied. You looked worried. "Captain, should we call for backup?" "The nearest human fleet is 6 hours away." Hyun considered this. The Indomitable was alone, facing a force that could probably destroy Earth itself. But something in his military training told him to wait and see what these aliens wanted. "Open a channel to the lead ship," he ordered Mai. "Channel open, sir." Hyun straightened his uniform and looked at the screen. "This is Captain Hyun Dae-jin of the Human Defense Force vessel Indomitable. You are entering human space. Please state your intentions." The response came quickly. The alien voice was deep and harsh, speaking through mechanical translators. "I am War Admiral Vexthal of the Kethran Empire. Your species will surrender immediately and submit to Imperial rule. Resistance will result in total annihilation." The bridge fell silent. Yu's hands froze over her controls. Tae stared at his tactical display with wide eyes. Mi slowly turned to look at her captain. Hyun smiled slightly. It was not a happy smile. "War Admiral Vexthal," he said calmly, "I'm afraid I have a counter-proposal. You have 10 minutes to turn your fleet around and leave human space. If you choose to remain, you will face the consequences." The alien transmission cut off abruptly. On the tactical display, the enemy fleet stopped moving. Hyun could imagine the confusion on their bridge. "Captain," Tae whispered. "They have 200 ships. We have one." "Yes," Hyun replied, "but they don't know what our one ship can do." Yu was already moving toward the engineering station. "I'll start charging the quantum fold shields. If we're going to fight, we'll need every advantage we can get." The quantum fold shields were Yu's greatest invention. Instead of simply blocking enemy attacks, they redirected the energy into pocket dimensions where it could be stored and used later. No other species had ever developed such technology. Mai monitored the alien communications. "Captain, they're talking among themselves. It sounds like they think we're insane." "Maybe we are." Hyun said quietly. The 10 minutes passed slowly. On the tactical display, the alien fleet began moving again. This time, their weapons were charging. Incoming transmission, Mi announced. War Admiral Vexthul's voice filled the bridge again. Human captain, you have made a foolish choice. Your species will serve as an example to others who dare defy the Empire. Prepare to die. Hyun walked back to his command chair and sat down. He looked at each member of his crew in turn. Yu was ready at her engineering station, hands dancing over controls. Tae had his weapon systems prepared and targeting solutions ready. I monitored enemy communications and stood ready to coordinate their defense. All hands prepare for battle, Hyun announced over the ship's communication system. This is what we trained for. Remember, we are not just defending ourselves. We are defending all of humanity. The enemy fleet spread out into attack formation. Energy readings spiked as massive weapon systems came online. The space around them began to glow with the power of 200 alien warships preparing to fire. Captain, Yu called out. All systems ready. Quantum fold shields at maximum power. Weapons ready, Tae confirmed. Communications ready, Mi added. Hyun gripped the arms of his chair. In a few moments, they would either make history or become history. Let them come, he said softly. The space around the Indomitable suddenly blazed with light. 200 alien warships fired at once, unleashing enough destructive power to crack a moon in half. Plasma beams, antimatter missiles, and energy torpedoes streaked through space toward the lone human vessel. War Admiral Vexthul watched from his command chair, expecting to see debris and fire where the human ship had been. This was how it always went. The Empire would demonstrate its power, and another species would learn to fear them. But something was wrong. The human ship was still there. Report, Vexthul growled at his tactical officer. Sir, all weapons hit the target. Direct impacts confirmed. But the human vessel shows no damage. None at all. Vexthul's clawed hands gripped his chair arms. That's impossible. Check your sensors. Sensors are functioning normally, War Admiral. The human ship appears completely unharmed. Aboard the Indomitable, Chief Engineer Yu Hua-young watched her displays with barely controlled excitement. The quantum fold shields were working perfectly. Every enemy attack had been absorbed and redirected into pocket dimensions, storing the energy for later use. Captain, she called out, her voice filled with wonder. We just absorbed enough energy to power Earth for 3 years. All systems are operating at optimal levels. Captain Hyun nodded calmly, though inside he felt amazed at what his ship had just survived. Status of the enemy fleet? Tactical Officer Tae studied his screens. They've stopped firing. Energy readings suggest they're confused and trying to understand what happened. Communications Specialist Mi monitored alien transmissions. Captain, they're definitely panicking. I'm hearing words that translate to impossible and witchcraft repeated over and over. The alien fleet hung in space, weapons still charged but no longer firing. On dozens of bridges, alien officers stared at their displays in disbelief. The humans should be dead. The math was simple. No ship could survive that much firepower. War Admiral Vexthul stood up, his 8-foot frame towering over his command crew. Fire again. All ships maximum power. I want that human vessel destroyed. The order went out across the fleet. Every captain, despite their confusion, obeyed. The Kethran Empire had not conquered half the galaxy by accepting impossible results. Once again, space filled with devastating energy. This time, every ship in the fleet fired simultaneously. The combined attack was bright enough to be seen from several star systems away. It was the kind of firepower that could turn a planet into floating rocks. The Indomitable sat in the center of this storm of destruction, its quantum fold shields redirecting every attack into dimensional storage. To the aliens, it looked like their most powerful weapons were simply disappearing into nothing. My God, Yu whispered as she watched the energy readings climb. We're absorbing enough power to run our entire civilization for decades. Captain Hyun stood and walked to the viewing screen. Outside, he could see the alien fleet clearly now. Their ships were massive and intimidating, built to inspire fear in anyone who saw them. But fear was not what Hyun felt. Tae, he said quietly, analyze their formation. Find me their weaknesses. Tae's fingers flew over his controls. His tactical computer began processing the alien fleet's positioning, shield frequencies, and weapon placement. What he found made him smile. Captain, they're arranged for maximum psychological impact, not tactical efficiency. Their overlapping shield matrices have weak points where our weapons could punch through, and their formation is so tight that if we hit the right spots, they'll interfere with each other. How many shots would we need? With the energy we've absorbed? We could target every ship individually and still have power left over. War Admiral Vexthul paced his bridge like a caged animal. 2 full fleet attacks had done nothing to the human ship. His officers avoided looking at him directly. In the Empire, failure was often punished by death. "Status report," he demanded. "Sir," his weapons officer said carefully, "all systems show direct hits on the human vessel, but their ship shows no damage, no debris, no energy dissipation. It's as if our weapons aren't affecting them at all. Perhaps their shields are more advanced than we thought," suggested his science officer. Thul turned on the smaller alien with fury in his yellow eyes. "No species has shields that can absorb antimatter explosions without any energy signature. What we're seeing violates the laws of physics." On other ships in the fleet, similar conversations were taking place. Veteran warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds were questioning everything they knew about warfare. Some captains were quietly suggesting that perhaps they should withdraw and report back to the Empire. But Vexthul was not ready to admit defeat. "Not yet, all ships," he commanded. "Close formation and prepare for ramming speed. If our weapons cannot destroy them, we will crush them with our hulls." The order caused panic among his fleet commanders. Ramming attacks were desperate measures, usually attempted only when all other options had failed. Many ships would be lost in such an assault. "War Admiral," his tactical officer said hesitantly, "ramming attacks against an unknown defensive system could result in heavy casualties. Better to lose ships in battle than to return home with tales of impossible humans." Vexthul replied coldly. The alien fleet began to move, their massive ships accelerating toward the Indomitable. From a distance, it looked like a swarm of metal predators closing in on a single small prey. Captain Hyun watched the approaching ships with calm eyes. "They're coming straight at us. Ramming speed. Shall I take evasive action?" asked Tay. "Not yet. Let them get closer. I want to see what they're really made of." Yu looked up from her engineering station. "Captain, with all the energy we've stored, our quantum drive can do things no alien has ever seen. We can phase in and out of normal space-time. To them, it will look like we're teleporting." "Perfect," Hyun said. "Prepare for combat maneuvers." Mi monitored the alien communications as their ships approached. "Captain, they're scared. Really scared. I'm hearing transmissions about reality-bending humans and impossible physics. Some ships are requesting permission to withdraw. Are they getting it?" "No, sir. Their war admiral is ordering them to continue the attack." Hyun nodded. The alien commander was brave, he would give him that. But bravery without understanding was often indistinguishable from stupidity. The first alien ship reached ramming distance. It was enormous, easily 10 times the size of the Indomitable. Its armored hull glowed with energy as it prepared to crush the human vessel. "Now," Captain Hyun said quietly. The Indomitable vanished. To the aliens, it looked like the human ship had simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. The ramming ship flew through empty space, its massive hull hitting nothing. Then the human ship reappeared directly behind the alien vessel. "Impossible," War Admiral Vexthul whispered. Staring at his tactical display, the Indomitable had not just moved. It had somehow stepped outside normal space and reappeared somewhere else instantly. No technology in the known galaxy could do such a thing. And then, for the first time since the battle began, the human ship fired back. Captain Hyun's voice cut through the bridge like a blade. "Return their gift with interest." The Indomitable released the stored energy from the alien attacks, but not as raw power. Instead, it flowed through humanity's most advanced weapon systems, focused and refined into precise beams of destruction. Tactical Officer. Tay's targeting computer had identified the exact weak points in every alien ship's defenses. The first shot struck the lead Kethron vessel exactly where its shield generator connected to the main hull. The massive ship's protective barriers collapsed instantly. The second shot punched through its armor like it was made of paper. War Admiral Vexthul watched in horror as his flagship's sister ship exploded in a brilliant ball of fire and metal. The explosion was so violent that it damaged 3 nearby vessels. "How?" he whispered. "How did they know exactly where to hit?" His tactical officer's voice shook as he replied. Sir, they targeted our most vulnerable point with perfect accuracy. No species has ever analyzed our defenses that quickly. But the human ship was not finished. As more alien vessels moved to attack, the Indomitable seemed to dance between them. Chief Engineer Yu's modifications to the quantum drive allowed the ship to phase in and out of normal space-time. To the aliens, it looked like the human vessel was teleporting randomly around the battlefield. Each time the Indomitable appeared, it fired with deadly precision. Each shot found a critical weakness. Shield generators, weapon systems, and engine cores exploded under the focused energy beams. The aliens had never seen anything move so fast or fight so intelligently. "Captain," Tay called out, excitement building in his voice. "Their formation is breaking apart. They're trying to target us, but we're moving too fast for their weapons to track." Captain Hyun studied the tactical display. The alien fleet was enormous, but their size was becoming a disadvantage. In their panic, they were starting to fire at shadows and hitting their own ships. "Use their numbers against them," Hyun ordered. "Make them think we're everywhere at once." Yu's fingers flew over her engineering controls. "Quantum drive ready for rapid phase shifting. I can keep us moving faster than their sensors can track." The Indomitable vanished again, reappearing behind a cluster of alien destroyers. Before they could turn to face the human ship, precise energy beams disabled their engines and weapons. The destroyers drifted helplessly as their crews scrambled to regain control. Communications specialist Mi monitored the alien transmissions, and what she heard made her eyes widen. "Captain, they're not just losing. They're in complete panic. I'm hearing words like demons and impossible physics over and over again." The battle continued for 2 hours, but it was not really a battle anymore. It was a demonstration. The Indomitable moved through the alien fleet like a ghost, striking where it pleased and vanishing before return fire could reach it. Every shot was perfect. Every target was chosen for maximum tactical effect. War Admiral Vexthul tried to maintain some semblance of command, but his orders were becoming increasingly desperate. "All ships concentrate fire on Grid 77. Ignore friendly fire protocols." The alien vessels turned their weapons on an empty patch of space where their sensors thought the human ship might appear. Instead, the Indomitable materialized on the opposite side of the fleet and destroyed a heavy cruiser with a single shot. "War Admiral," his communications officer said, voice barely above a whisper. "We're receiving surrender requests from 17 ships. Their captains say they cannot fight an enemy that controls space and time itself." Vexthul's scaled fist slammed into his command chair. "No surrenders. We are the Kethron Empire. We do not yield to inferior species." But even as he spoke those words, he knew they were lies. The humans were not inferior. They were something far beyond anything the Empire had ever encountered. On the Indomitable, Captain Hyun watched the alien fleet's desperate attempts to fight back. Many ships were now firing randomly into space, hoping to hit something. Others had stopped fighting entirely and were trying to withdraw to safe distances. "Status report," Hyun requested. Tay consulted his tactical display. 150 alien ships destroyed or disabled. 50 ships remaining, but most have stopped attacking. Their formation is completely broken. Yu looked up from her engineering station. "We still have enough stored energy to continue fighting for hours if necessary. Their weapons are actually making us stronger." Mi turned from her communications console. "Captain, I'm intercepting transmissions between the surviving ships. Many are asking their war admiral for permission to withdraw. Some are saying they should abandon him and surrender individually." Hyun nodded slowly. The aliens were broken, not just as a military force but as a unified command structure. Their faith in their own superiority had been shattered completely. "Open a channel to their flagship," he ordered. The main screen flickered, showing the bridge of the alien command ship. War Admiral Vexthul stood in the center of chaos, with damaged equipment sparking around him and his officers looking terrified. "War Admiral," Captain Hyun said calmly, "you came to human space with threats of annihilation. You fired upon a ship that offered you safe passage. Now you face a choice." Vexthul stared at the human captain through the screen. The alien commander was 8 feet tall, covered in scales and armed with natural weapons that could tear through metal. But looking at Captain Hyun's steady eyes, he felt like a child facing an adult. "What choice?" Vexthul asked, his voice filled with defeat. "You can continue fighting and lose the rest of your fleet," Hyun replied. "Or you can listen to what I have to tell you about humanity." The alien bridge fell silent. Everyone was waiting for their war admiral's decision. Captain Hyun continued speaking. his voice carrying across space to every surviving alien ship. The Indomitable is not our most powerful warship. It's a patrol vessel, one of hundreds that guard human space. What you've experienced today is not humanity's full military might. It's just a demonstration of what happens when you threaten us. Chief Engineer Yu quietly provided technical data that appeared on the alien screens. The quantum weapons, the phase-shifting technology, the energy absorption systems. All of it was explained in simple terms that even the aliens could understand. War Admiral Vexthol studied the information with growing horror. The weapons that had destroyed his fleet were considered defensive systems by human standards. The Indomitable had been fighting with what the humans considered training equipment. Impossible, he whispered. Not impossible, Captain Hyun corrected gently. Just different. Humanity developed our technology through cooperation and scientific advancement, not conquest and fear. That difference is why your empire cannot understand what you're seeing. Mi picked up frantic communications between the surviving alien ships. Many captains were now openly questioning whether they should continue following their war admiral's orders. The unity of the Kethran fleet was completely broken. Captain Hyun made his final offer, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had already proven his superiority beyond doubt. War Admiral Vexthol, you have one opportunity to withdraw with your remaining ships. Return to your empire and tell them that humanity wishes for peace, but humanity will defend itself. Choose wisely. This is the only second chance you will receive. The alien commander stood motionless on his damaged bridge, staring at the tactical display that showed his once mighty fleet reduced to scattered survivors. In his entire military career, he had never faced such a choice between pride and survival. The Indomitable moved slowly through the debris field that had once been the pride of the Kethran Empire. Broken pieces of alien warships drifted in space, some still glowing from the energy weapons that had destroyed them. The 50 surviving ships huddled together in defensive formations, no longer threatening but simply trying to stay alive. Captain Hyun stood before the main viewing screen, watching War Admiral Vexthol's damaged bridge. The alien commander had not spoken for several minutes. His officers whispered among themselves in their harsh language, but their war admiral remained silent. War Admiral, Captain Hyun said gently, I understand this is difficult for you. Your empire has taught you that might makes right, that superior numbers guarantee victory. Today you learned that superior understanding matters more than superior force. Vexthol finally moved, his massive frame turning to face the screen directly. Human captain in 300 years of conquest, the Kethran Empire has never been defeated. We have destroyed civilizations that were older and more advanced than yours. How is this possible? Communications specialist Mi translated the alien transmissions from the surviving ships. Captain, they're not just confused about our technology. They're questioning their entire understanding of warfare and civilization. Chief Engineer Yu looked up from her station. Should I explain the quantum principles behind our weapon systems? Yes, Captain Hyun replied. They need to understand exactly what they face today. Yu activated her technical display, sending detailed information to the alien fleet. She spoke clearly and simply, explaining concepts that were beyond current Kethran science. War Admiral, your weapons operate on principles of brute force energy projection. You simply create massive amounts of destructive power and throw it at your targets. Our quantum fold shields don't try to stop that energy. Instead, they redirect it into pocket dimensions where we can store it and use it later. The alien science officers on various ships frantically studied the data. What they saw challenged everything they knew about physics and engineering. Yu continued her explanation. Your ships are built to intimidate and overwhelm. Ours are built to think and adapt. Every time you fired at us, you made us stronger. Every attack gave us more power to use against you. War Admiral Vexthol's tactical officer spoke quietly to his commander. Sir, according to this data, the human weapons could theoretically unravel the atomic structure of matter itself. They could have completely destroyed us rather than simply disabling our ships. The weight of this realization settled over the alien bridge like a heavy blanket. They had not been defeated by a superior force. They had been defeated by a superior civilization that had chosen to show mercy. Tactical Officer Tay monitored the remaining alien ships. Captain, several vessels are powering down their weapons completely. I think they're preparing to surrender individually. Captain Hyun nodded. Open channels to all surviving ships. I want every captain to hear this. The communications array activated, connecting the Indomitable to every remaining Kethran vessel. Dozens of alien bridges appeared on screens throughout the human ship. Captains of the Kethran fleet, Hyun began. You came here believing that your empire was the strongest force in the galaxy. You believed that any species that refused to surrender deserved to be destroyed. Today you learned that strength comes in many forms. He paused, looking at the faces on the screens. Some aliens appeared angry, others confused, but most looked simply defeated. Humanity has the power to destroy your entire empire, Captain Hyun continued. But we choose not to use that power. We could have reduced your fleet to atoms, but instead we disabled your ships and gave your crews a chance to survive. This is not because we are weak. It is because we are strong enough to choose mercy. War Admiral Vexthal found his voice again. Human Captain, if you release us, we will be duty-bound to report this defeat to the Empire. They will send larger fleets, more powerful weapons. Yes, Hyun agreed, they probably will. And those fleets will learn the same lesson you learned today. The question is, how many of your people must die before your empire understands that some fights cannot be won through force alone? Mai picked up urgent transmissions between the alien ships. Many captains were now arguing with each other about what to do next. Some wanted to fight to the death rather than return home in defeat. Others were ready to surrender immediately. Captain, Mai reported, they're breaking apart as a unified command. Multiple ships are requesting individual negotiations. Captain Hyun made a decision that surprised even his own crew. War Admiral Vexthul, I invite you to come aboard the Indomitable for direct negotiations. Come alone and I guarantee your safety. The alien bridge erupted in shocked voices. Vexthul's officers clearly thought their commander was walking into a trap. Chief Engineer Yu looked concerned. Captain, that's a significant security risk. We don't know what hidden weapons he might carry. And yet, Captain Hyun replied, sometimes trust is the strongest weapon of all. 20 minutes later, a small alien shuttle approached the Indomitable. War Admiral Vexthul sat alone in the pilot's seat, his massive frame barely fitting in the small craft. His hand shook slightly as he guided the shuttle into the human ship's docking bay. The meeting took place in the ship's main conference room. Captain Hyun sat across from the alien commander at a simple metal table. No weapons were visible, but both men knew that the real weapons were their words and their understanding. Vexthul spoke first. Human Captain, I have conquered 47 worlds in my career. I have seen species fight with nuclear weapons, plasma cannons, and gravity manipulators, but I have never seen anything like what your ship did today. What we did today was not special by human standards, Hyun replied quietly. It was simply what happens when we are forced to defend ourselves. Your ship moved through space like it was alive. Your weapons struck with perfect precision. Your shields absorbed our most powerful attacks like they were nothing. How is this possible? Captain Hyun stood and walked to the room's viewing port. Outside, the debris of the alien fleet drifted slowly through space. War Admiral, your empire conquers through fear and overwhelming force. You have never needed to develop efficient technologies because you always had more ships and bigger weapons than your enemies. He turned back to face the alien commander. Humanity developed differently. We had to be clever because we were alone. We had to be efficient because we had limited resources. We had to be precise because we could not afford to waste anything. Vexthul's yellow eyes studied the human captain carefully. Are you saying that being outnumbered made you stronger? I'm saying that necessity breeds innovation. Your empire never needed to innovate because brute force always worked. Until today. The alien commander was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice carried a note that Hyun had not heard before. Respect. Human Captain, what do you want from us? I want you to return to your empire with a message, Hyun replied. Humanity offers peace to any species willing to accept it. We offer trade, scientific exchange, and mutual cooperation, but we will defend ourselves against any who choose to threaten us. And if the Empire refuses your offer? Captain Hyun's expression remained calm, but his eyes hardened slightly. Then the Empire will learn that there are worse things than defeat. There is irrelevance. War Admiral Vexthul sat in the conference room aboard the Indomitable, staring at his clawed hands. For the first time in his 300-year military career, he faced a choice that could not be solved with weapons or intimidation. Human Captain, he said slowly, my empire will view any retreat as cowardice. Military commanders who return from failed conquests are typically executed as examples to others. Captain Hyun remained seated across from the alien commander, his expression calm but understanding. "And yet you cannot sacrifice the lives of your remaining crews for the sake of pride." "No," Vexthul admitted. "I cannot. They followed me into battle believing in the Empire's strength. They do not deserve to die for my failure to understand yours." Through the viewing port, both commanders could see the debris field where 150 Kethran warships had once been. The surviving 50 ships waited in formation, their crews uncertain about their fate. "There is another option," Captain Hyun said quietly. "Instead of reporting a military defeat, you could return with a diplomatic opportunity." Vexthul's yellow eyes focused on the human captain. "Explain." "Your empire conquers worlds to acquire resources and territory. Humanity offers something far more valuable: knowledge and willing cooperation. Return to your leaders not as a defeated war admiral, but as an ambassador carrying humanity's terms for a non-aggression pact." The alien commander considered this carefully. In his culture, military defeat was shameful, but successful diplomacy was respected. If he could present this as an opportunity rather than a failure, he might save not only his crews but his own life. What would humanity offer in such an agreement? Captain Hyun activated a holographic display showing star charts and technical data. Limited technological exchange in areas that benefit both species. Trade agreements for resources that each civilization needs. Scientific cooperation in projects that advance both our species. And most importantly, a promise that the Kethran Empire's expansion can continue in directions that do not threaten human space. "You would allow us to continue conquering other species?" "We would prefer that you find other ways to expand your civilization," Hyun replied honestly. "But humanity will not police the entire galaxy. However, any species that asks for our protection will receive it." Communications. Specialist Mi approached the conference table. "Captain, I'm receiving multiple transmissions from the surviving alien ships. Many captains are requesting immediate withdrawal from human space." War Admiral Vexthul stood and walked to the viewing port. His remaining fleet looked small and fragile compared to the massive armada that had entered human space just hours earlier. "My captains are good warriors," he said, "but they have never experienced defeat like this. Their faith in the Empire's invincibility is broken." "Faith can be rebuilt," Captain Hyun observed, "but it should be rebuilt on truth rather than false superiority." Tactical Officer Tay entered the conference room and spoke quietly to his captain. "Sir, we're receiving automated distress signals from 3 other sectors. It appears the Kethran fleet is not the only alien force that has found humanity recently." Captain Hyun nodded grimly. The galaxy was larger than any single species could imagine, and humanity had remained hidden for far too long. Word of their existence was spreading. "War Admiral," he said, turning back to Vexthul, "time is becoming a factor. Other species are approaching human space, and we will need to deal with them as well. Your decision will affect how those encounters proceed." The alien commander understood the implications. If he returned to the Empire with tales of humanity's military power, other species might attempt surprise attacks or form alliances against the humans. But if he returned with a diplomatic proposal, it might encourage peaceful contact. "Human captain, I accept your offer. I will return to the Empire not as a defeated war admiral, but as an ambassador carrying terms for peace between our species." Chief Engineer Yu looked up from her portable technical display. "Captain, should I prepare the technical specifications they'll need for the exchange program?" "Yes, but only the basic information. They'll need to prove their commitment to peace before we share our more advanced technologies." War Admiral Vexthul extended one clawed hand toward Captain Hyun. "I have never shaken hands with a member of another species in friendship. Among my people, such contact typically occurs only during combat." Captain Hyun clasped the alien's hand firmly. "Among humans, it's a sign of mutual respect and agreement. Consider it our first cultural exchange." The 2 commanders returned to their respective ships. As War Admiral Vexthul's shuttle departed the Indomitable, he carried with him detailed proposals for trade agreements, technology-sharing protocols, and territorial boundaries that would prevent future conflicts. The surviving Kethran fleet reformed into a travel formation, but they no longer looked like conquerors. They moved slowly and carefully, showing respect for the space around them. Many ships displayed signals indicating peaceful intentions. Captain Hyun stood on his bridge, watching the alien fleet prepare to leave human space. "Status of our defensive systems?" Chief Engineer Yu checked her displays. All systems functioning normally. Quantum fold shields fully charged and ready. We still have enough stored energy from their attacks to power our weapons for weeks. Good. We may need it soon. Communications Specialist Mai turned from her station. Captain, I'm detecting multiple alien transmissions on long-range frequencies. It appears news of the battle is already spreading across this sector of the galaxy. Tactical Officer Tay studied his sensors carefully. Captain, the distress signals we detected are getting stronger. I estimate at least 3 more alien fleets are approaching human space from different directions. Captain Hyun nodded. The age of human isolation was ending. The galaxy had learned of Earth's existence, and every species would need to decide how to respond to humanity's presence. Send a message to Earth Command, he ordered Mai. Inform them that first contact protocols are now in effect across all sectors. The defense fleet should prepare for multiple simultaneous encounters. What about the returning Kethran fleet? Tay asked. Let them go. War Admiral Vexthal has chosen to become our first alien ally rather than our enemy. That decision may determine whether humanity faces the galaxy alone or with friends beside us. The alien fleet reached the edge of human space and paused. War Admiral Vexthal sent a final transmission to the Indomitable. Human Captain, you have shown my people something we had never experienced. Mercy from a position of strength. I will remember this lesson. When other species ask about humanity, I will tell them that you are dangerous to your enemies but generous to those who choose peace. Safe travels, War Admiral, Captain Hyun replied. May your journey home be the beginning of a new relationship between our species. The Kethran fleet vanished into hyperspace, carrying their ambassador and his message of humanity's unexpected offer of cooperation rather than conquest. Captain Hyun turned to his crew. All stations, prepare for the next patrol sector. If 3 more alien fleets are approaching human space, we need to be ready for them. Chief Engineer Yu was already working on improvements to their weapon systems. Captain, based on today's battle, I can enhance our quantum fold shields to absorb and redirect even more powerful attacks. Do it. And you? Yes, sir. Design them to be even more precise. We've shown mercy once today, but the next species we encounter may not be as willing to listen as War Admiral Vexthal. The Indomitable turned toward the next patrol sector, its hull gleaming in the light of distant stars. Behind them, the debris field slowly dispersed into space, leaving only the memory of the day humanity announced its presence to the galaxy. In the distance, automated sensors detected energy signatures approaching from multiple directions. The galaxy was coming to visit humanity, and every species would face the same choice that War Admiral Vexthal had faced: peace or consequences. Captain Hyun settled into his command chair as the ship entered hyperspace. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human diplomacy had begun, but if diplomacy failed, humanity was ready for war.